this evening we have a fascinating guest. He's a young man who is very well versed beyond his years. Is Sabir Bey, and he's the founder and the CEO of Civil Alert, which is an open information forum designed to bring awareness of the science of civics to the community at large. And he does an excellent job. He's shared the platform with speakers such as KRS-One. He's spoken in many universities, mostly in the Midwest and the East Coast, in New York, Chicago, and Detroit, Philly. And he produces his own radio program, which is also of that same name, Civil Alert Talk Radio Show. And we're waiting for him to call in, which I'm sure that he is. He's a very busy man. He did call me earlier and let me know he's going to be calling as he is commuting back from New York to Philly, I believe. So we'll be very patient. We'll know that he's going to call in momentarily. But it's going to be a fascinating show. We're going to focus a great deal on law. A lot of us don't really know. We've never been taught about law and about language, as our title shows us here, Law, Language, and You. These are things that we really need to understand. We need to understand what words really mean so that when we speak, we can be very clear with what we're saying, so that when we are listening, we can understand very deeply to what's being said to us, and so that we can also know what our real rights are, our human rights. We're also going to speak about nationality and go into many, many topics that are very interesting and very important for us to get into. Oh, so it looks like Sabir is on the line. Sabir?
Peace. How you feeling?
Oh, feeling fabulous. Thank you so much for being timely. I know that you're running across state lines and just busy, and I'm glad that you could make it. So grateful you could come on Solutions Radio.
Thank you. I just got in from New York. I just touched down. I was trying to leave earlier than this so I could get to you, because I was in New York real quick for a second, and I had to get out of there. They had an event there.
Well, you're perfectly fine. You're perfectly fine. I was just kind of running down your accolades and all of the wonderful things you've been involved with and all that you do. But I'm not going to take up any more time. I want you to go ahead and please share with our guests who you are and how you came to be who you are today.
Wow. Ooh, I believe my mother say. But I started in the movement with dealing with nationality. I came out of the Nation of Islam, from the Nation of Islam to Sunni Islam. From Sunni Islam, I ran across a brother named Kamar Gabriel. This may have been about 10, 11 years ago. And I used to always see the brothers with the fez, I used to call him a hat too, only related to masonry. So I sat with this brother Kamar. Kamar, was up all night long, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I used to go to his house and we used to just talk about, a lot of things. He used to tell me to look in between the lines. When you see the word Indian, they referring to our ancestors, because Indian means indigo. It's a color. So he was talking about our people. So I would look at everything different. I knew something was wrong, but it was just somebody had to come into my life to say, look at it this way. And from that point on, he introduced me to, some people may know who Taj is, Taj Tariq Bey. Introduced me to Taj Tariq Bey with the Morris Order Roundtable. And from that point on, I just started doing my own research and just running with it. Started radio 5.5 years ago. I've been doing radio for about 5.5 years. Started from there, started my own research. Started doing little newspapers from a piece of paper to a newspaper called Civil Alert. Because there was a certain way that I was like, wait a minute, this information has to get out. But I used to examine just the news and the stuff that would come on TV, and I say something else, is wrong. They're not really telling everybody really what's going on. And I just started doing my newspaper, putting the stuff inside the newspaper. The radio came along. We started doing the radio, still going strong from the time I started 5.5 years ago. Started linking up with guys like Africa Bambaataa, Professor Griff, KRS-One, which I'm now part of the Stop the Violence movement with KRS-One. You know, Hakeem from Channel Live. I mean, on and on and on. James Ingram Bey. You know, for those that don't know James Ingram, he's a Bey, the singer. We started talking. Just from that point on, we started sharing some information, saying, "Look, keep going. Don't stop doing what you're doing." And you know, just started doing the lectures. You know, I have over 25 lectures I've already, you know, done. Spoke at universities, high schools, in different different areas. So that's just the juice of it. With me, I mean, I'm an activist. You know, I'm a radio host and a director also. So because I'm doing TV now, working on television right now. So it's a lot, and I have to commend everybody that helped me along the way. You know, to keep this thing going, because it is a job. It's a job.
Well, you're certainly doing it, brother. I know that every time we have our private conversations, you are on your way somewhere, coming from somewhere, in the midst of something, and you take the time to return my calls and to keep me abreast on what's happening, and I so appreciate that. But
I appreciate you.
But I want to get into the meat of it, because you know, certainly our listeners are here to get this information that you have to share, and I know that we're going to have you on again so that we can break this down, perhaps develop some sort of a class setting here. But if you can break it down to the beginning, wherever you feel we need to start, so that we can really understand about law and about language and how it applies to us and affects us and to this day, and a little bit of history as well.
Well, one thing I always share with people, no matter where I go, I try to get people to do like this. It's called critical thinking and analytical thinking. Start questioning everything. So what happens from my study, my research, from my study and my research, I would say, look, when you see something on television, you know, let's start questioning it. Let's start, you know, like right now I'm looking at this thing called the Unit, and they was joking about, not joking, but they was quoting the Constitution, and asked when did the Constitution or the Constitutional Convention start, and the guy said 1787. So the teacher says, well, was there Washington D.C. in 1787? And he was, you know, and it was funny because I'm looking at this like, wow, it wasn't. Most people don't even know that. Most people haven't even read the Constitution of the United States. You know, and that's something that's basic. This is what I'm teaching the high school students now. You know, to read the state constitution, the U.S. Constitution. Let's start reading these documents. In school, there should always be a state in the U.S. Constitution inside these classrooms. You know, so people can start reading through these documents and find out who has the power, what is the authority of the government, and how governments are formed. So basic elementary. I just spoke at Business Tech High School on the 10th, and I showed them, I asked the students, how many constitutions are there? And they said one. They didn't know it was two. And most people may be listening may not know that it was two. You have the states in the U.S. Constitution. So that's fundamental. That's fundamental principles. And anybody who may be in law enforcement, judge, prosecutor, whatever they may be, they take an oath on two constitutions. It's the state and the U.S. Constitution. That's all you have to do is go get any judge's oath of office. You can get them. They're right inside your I forgot what office is inside your city hall.
And so, Sabir, so there is the U.S. Constitution, and then there is the state. Does each state have an individual constitution as well?
Yes, each state has its own. Pennsylvania has the Commonwealth Constitution. Washington will have Washington State Constitution and the U.S. Constitution. Mm-hmm. So once the constitutions of your state supersedes the Constitution of the federal Constitution, which everybody calls the U.S. Constitution. So each piece. When you read these documents, you actually understand what was going on, how government was instituted amongst men. So if the Constitution and governments were instituted amongst men, who has the authority to change the Constitution? It would be the people. Mm-hmm. But the people have to be conscious to what is going on. Government can't come in unless you're subjects, because subjects cannot say or do anything because you're subject to a government, not the other way around. Read the Constitution. It says, we the people of the United States. And it would tell you that governments or institution was created by people. That's why it's mandatory you read it. And all inherent power is in the people. It didn't say the government. It was always in the people.
Wow, so we haven't been taught these things, probably for obvious reasons. You know, if someone wants to control you, they're certainly not going to give you the tools to avoid that control.
We right. Well, we wouldn't. Why would they do that? John Henry Clark, the late John Henry Clark, said that people in power would never teach the powerless how to take power from them. He said to do that would be insane. So why would I teach you how to take power from me? Mm-hmm. Why would I try to teach you to be on the same equal footing as me? So now I'm going to teach you in my school how to be inferior, not superior, or on equal playing field. That's not their job to do that. It's up to the people to inform themselves. So, so the same thing would be built upon, like I would say, with hip-hop. When you're dealing with radio, period, the debate was today in New York was hip-hop, is hip-hop bad for black people? And I said, no, it's not bad. It's just that you're not getting true hip-hop. You're not getting real, true information on the television neither. Because it's all programmed and controlled already to have your psyche. If you pay attention to television, they have so many CSI shows on here, so many court TV shows on here. If you pay attention to it, you'll start in your subconscious mind accepting that that's the law, and don't realize that they are in total violation of the law every day. The police. How can I prove it? They violate your rights every day. They stop your liberty, take your property, they threaten your life. Read the Constitution, life, liberty, and property. Who do it? Every day. They do. Mm-hmm. They threaten your life with a gun. Without the gun, you can't do anything. They stop you in your liberty, which is your movement. They take your property, be it if your car, be it if your cell phone, be it if it's your house, every single day, but we don't pay attention to these simple, elementary things that's happening out here. If you just pick up the Constitution of your state and the U.S. Constitution, you will see these things. The reason why these things are happening is because we're claiming that we live in a democracy. Democracy, okay. Yeah. See, the thing is that anyone who says right now on this phone the Pledge of Allegiance, do you know the Pledge of Allegiance? Can you recite the Pledge of Allegiance?
It's been a long time.
I'm going to put you on the spot. I'm going to put you on the spot. I'm going to put a lot of people, and I know they're probably trying to figure it out right now. Say the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under a groove.
Funny. But when you said, so when you just said that, right? Now listen to what you just said. Did you hear I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the Democrat for which it stands? Did it say Democrat or Republic?
No, it said Republic.
So why people keep saying Democrat or democracy?
Yeah, and please inform us as to what the difference is.
All right. And also, I have to pick this up. Article 4, Section 4 also states, in every state of the union, guarantees a Republican form of government. That's in Article 4, Section 4. If you don't have a Constitution there, you Google it. Mm-hmm. Republic, the Republic, what does re mean? Re means what?
Again.
To go back, right?
Go back,
okay.
Yeah.
So, to public. So who's the public? The people, right?
We are, yeah.
So we're talking about back to the public again. It's the power in the people, not democracy. Democracy means demos classique, which means demon root, or a particular group of people ruling over another group of people. This is no democratic republic. Who made that up? That's not in the Constitution. That's not even, I believe it was Thomas Jefferson said, it's a republic if you can keep it.
Yeah, if you can keep it. Yeah.
Exactly. So now, again, through the television, we are manipulated believing that this is democracy only because they allowed the so-called Negroes to come in to make them second-class or denizen citizens in D.C. But this is a Republican form of government, which blacks are not citizens. Sorry for anybody who's thinking that they are. So what happens when you read the Constitution, that the authority always lies in the hands of the people. It was always the people. So the people are the ones that can alter, abolish, and change the government. That's why it's in there. The people are the only one that can change or amend the Constitution, the people. But the people have to be conscious on what the Constitution is. They have to understand the Constitution, or understand the Constitution, or understand it. What did it really mean? It's a lot of things that's in there. If you read the 5th Amendment and the 14th Amendment, they're talking about two types of citizens also in the Constitution.
So they make a distinction. So what is that distinction?
Well, one distinction is talking about a corporate citizen, and one is talking about a natural-born citizen. If you study the rules of grammar, anytime you spell a proper noun or whatever, you have to spell it with a capital C, small I, Z. Now, when you read the 14th Amendment, it's all small. Anybody who don't take anything that I say here. I want you to go pick up the Constitution, go find a whole bunch of them, go grab them, and see if they're different. There's no mistakes. They spelled the two types of citizens in there for a reason, for only those that understand what's going on. Because what happens, Congress cannot make anyone a citizen if you understand the structures of government. There's 3 branches of government: the legislative, executive, and judicial department. The Congress passes the laws. One enforces the laws with the executive, and one determines the law, which is the judicial. So no president can make a person a citizen at all. The Emancipation Proclamation cannot free and make anybody a citizen. It just transferred property over from one hand to the other hand. And right now, if you have a pen and a piece of paper, I want everybody to look up this guy. His name is John Jay. His name, I'm going to repeat this again. John Jay.
Spelled J-A-Y?
Yes, John Jay.
Okay.
Look this guy up. He's the first one who passed a legislative bill to free slaves. This was in the 17-something, late in the 1700s, before Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation. And there's a college in New York called John Jay University. If you just punch his name in the computer, his name will pop up. But it'll tell you that the first legislation didn't get passed. The second one didn't get passed, but the third one got passed in 89. And what happened, it said to free all slaves. It didn't say black slaves or Negroes or African slaves. It says all slaves in New York. So it was not Lincoln. So they give you Lincoln. So what the game was, they had to transfer. They took all the property from the Confederates. Mind you, the federal government sits inside D.C. I'm going here for a reason, to show you parts of history and law and what is going on. When they went to war, the federal government took all the property and land from the Confederates, and which was nobody but their family. They took the land. It is also under the abandonment law and the Confiscation Act. You look up the Confiscation Act and the abandonment land law. All these things apply because blacks were property. So they took all the property that belonged to the Confederates and transferred them over to the Union, which was transferred to hold and protect as articles of property, not to make you a citizen. So you have to study the history. So when you start looking up the history of why things are happening, why these so-called blacks or so-called Negroes are only arguing civil rights and not human rights. Malcolm spoke about this over 40 years ago. Yet they cannot do that because they're not full citizens at all. They're property.
And so we're still property to this day.
To this day. It's no coincidence that they calling people the minority. You know that? There is none. Do you know, according to law, we're not talking, even if you may look in Webster's dictionary, but according to law, minority means a minor, an infant.
A minor. Yes, okay.
Yes, that's the root. So when you look up minority and see, because we can never be a minority of people. You have more darker people here. You have Caucasians.
Yeah.
And I'm including Puerto Ricans. I'm including Cubans. I'm including everybody else, Ethiopians. I'm including everybody that's here. We are the majority of the people. We're not the minority. But they're not talking about a number like that. They're talking about your mentality.
Okay.
So according to law, when you look up the word minority, it's going to say C minor, according in Black's Law Dictionary. When I say that, Black's Law Dictionary, Ballantyne's Dictionary, Bouvier's Law Dictionary, and also Words and Phrases Dictionary. When you look up all these law terms, it's going to tell you exactly what minority means. Which means now, since you are a minority, a minor can't do what? Enter into a contract.
Right.
So you have, right? So now, since they can enter into a contract, you have to have a state ward. Don't they say go vote in your ward? Don't they do that? Voting in your ward? You go to jail, you have a what? A warden, right?
A warden, yes.
Who do what? Who watch over what? You got to understand the game. Exactly. So you have to understand what is going on. And this is according to law. This is in law.
Let's take a moment here. Everybody, I see a few people have popped in. Our guest this evening is this outstanding guest that you're listening to, is Sabir Bey. And we'd love to have you call in right now at 347-843-4485. I know you have questions. Okay, go ahead, bro.
Yeah, but we have to follow these things and find out what is really going on and start, like I said, start questioning these type of things. Because we don't know the tie-in between the wardens. What is a warden? It protects a ward. So what is a minority? And why minors can enter contracts? And if that be the case, everything that we ever signed before that will be non and void because minors cannot enter contracts. So this is why you have to have
signing. When we're
anything.
Signing, we sign agreements for, for property, so-called, for cars, for whatever. What are we actually signing if we're not signing an agreement? What's going on? We're a minor.
Well, when you're dealing in contract, anybody who's dealing with contract law who may be listening right now who understands business law, in dealing in law, you have to have some elements in there. You have to have the offer, the acceptance, considerations. But you also must have the meeting of the minds. So if the person is not conscious to that, how could the contract be, held up? It can't.
So it's not valid. Okay.
It's not valid. So because I'm not conscious to what a contract is. So you didn't tell me. But the game is if I offer something to you and you accept it, now there's some type of consideration somewhere.
Even though I'm a minor.
Exactly, but they don't tell people that. But under the statutes of fraud, people can get out of those issues if you become conscious after the fact. There's no statute of limitation on that, on statutes of fraud. You can get out of that because it was done unintentionally. But these are the things they don't
utilize this, even though it's something that was not created for your benefit. You can still utilize it to your benefit.
But you cannot do it. Yes, but you cannot do it as being as a minor. You cannot do that as a minor. See what I'm saying? If you claim it to be a Negro, I don't care, black, colored, you only get a granted privilege.
African American,
whatever other title that we want to come up with. You have to. What happens is that you cannot do these things because we gave you the granted privilege. If you read the Dred Scott case, where's that case? It says, I can quote it from the top of my head, though. This says, the descendants of Africans, rather emancipated or not, are not citizens within the meaning of the Constitution and only have rights which the government might grant them. Wait a minute. If the government grants you something, they can take it from you, right?
They sure can.
So when we read the preamble, right, to the Constitution, it says, we the people of the United States to form a more perfect union. It didn't say grant anything to them. It says, we the people of the United States to form a more perfect union. So how could a grant come into play? So if you read the 14th Amendment, all persons born or naturalized are subject to. Again, how could subject to what? You have no. You see what I'm saying? So if I grant you something, it becomes a privilege, which can be given and taken at the whim of the government. Because now you're subject.
Privilege.
Okay. Exactly. It's a privilege. That's all it is.
Wow.
Because your property.
Looks like we have a caller. We have conscious vibrations on the line. Let me let him into the conversation here. Conscious, welcome to Solutions Radio. So glad you called.
Hotel Goddess, can you hear me?
Can hear you just fine.
Excellent.
Do you have a question or comment?
A couple of questions for the God. I heard him speaking in reference to property and how they covertly actually get you to enter into these contracts, but these contracts that you enter into, I had a couple of questions concerning them because I did some studies. They're not contracts of ownership. Actually, when you enter the contract, you're actually giving away something that you're under the impression that you're owning. Take, for example, a house. Or applying for a loan to get a house, and I just needed some validation from the speaker. When you buy a house, actually what you're doing is buying the bank a house, because the only thing the bank does is they're an insurance company for the IC or whatever they call it.
Yeah, FDIC.
And they're the middleman. They don't loan you the money. Your signature loans you the money, but they basically get you to enter into a multitude of contracts in which the middleman can make money rather than you going directly to the source to borrow the money, where the house might cost you $100,000. Now you end up owing a substantial amount of more money because the middleman basically blocked you from direct access to the cash.
Okay, yeah, you're absolutely right. I said in before they changed it, I don't know if you have it out there. It was called Commerce Bank. I was in Commerce Bank. I believe it's TD Bank now, or something like that. Now they switched over. I sat in the bank, and I was talking about and anybody can Google this. I have the paper somewhere here. It's called the bank and banking law. When you study the banking laws, and there's also, if you have a pen there, you look up this thing called money mechanics. Look up money mechanics. All right, look up money mechanics. And when you read these documents, this is what they hold back from majority of the population. And I sat in the bank, and I was telling the couple of tellers that was there, I had about 4 or 5 of them there, and I was like, well, when did y'all ever loan anybody any money? According to the banking law, the banks can't loan money. He was like, wait a minute, what are you talking about? Hold up, wait a minute. So he went and got the manager.
Correct.
And brought the manager out. The manager was like, well, are you in school for this? I said, no. I just studied the banking laws. So you're in total violation by even trying to create credit. You know what I mean? Because you can't loan your credit, you have to loan money. So the thing is that, like you just said, your signature, but if you're signing a signature that does not belong to you, because the name is not yours that you're putting down there. That's not your name.
Right.
It's someone else's name. So you're already in total violation. That's why I said the conscious piece of knowing who you really are. Land can never be bought. It has to be inherited. That's why they call it inheritance taxes or heritage or estate. It's passed down through generations. And what happens, since we don't know who we are sitting already home in our own land, we're claiming they're coming from somewhere else, and somebody's taking your birthright right here on this land. Because the only foreigners on this land is Europeans. So now if I can convince you that you came over here, that you didn't do anything, and we imported you in here, you don't have no rights to nothing, only what we would give you. I just told you what the Dred Scott case said. So now we're running around saying we're African Americans, never stepped foot in Africa before. And Africans will tell you that. They'll say, no, you're an American. That's what they'll tell you. And we get upset with the term America. It's not them. Europeans are not Americans. They're Europeans. They're from somewhere over there. They're not Americans. The true Americans are the Aboriginal. This is the definition, even in their Webster's dictionary. It says America is the Aboriginal or copper-colored natives found on the American continent, not country, continent by the Europeans. That's what it states in 1824 dictionary. Now they're changing these things. Abu, which means Abba, original. Abba, Father, who art in heaven, or Abu in Islam, the original people. That's all it is. They're talking about you. And when they refer to you as the Indian, they're still talking about you. They were not called Indians back then. It was called Hindustan or Borat. Indi or Indigo meant dark people. They would talk about our ancestors that was already here. Again, if I'm writing the history, I can wipe you out or bring you in. If I can control the television or the radio, I can manipulate these things. So now we're going to train a couple of people in my institution to go out and keep our lie going for generations and generations. This is why I was talking to the 10th and 11th graders. And they are very smart because they were saying, wait a minute, they were still teaching that Columbus discovered America. I said, if I walked in your house, did I discover your house? They said, no. I said, okay then. If I walk outside in the parking lot, did I discover that car when somebody's getting in the car? So why we keep telling the lies? And we keep going to the same people that keep perpetuating the lies. It looked like us too.
Right.
It looked just like us. So
now,
yes, brother.
Sabir, now these names that we have, this nationality that we have, we're walking around calling ourselves African American, Black, or Afro American. How do we get our rightful name back? Is it necessary for them to acknowledge it? How do we do this so that we can take back, who we really are?
Okay, everybody who comes into this land, who go through a naturalization act, it's a law that you must proclaim your name and nationality. Everybody who comes here, and they'll tell you that if you talk to anybody from outside of here, they have to proclaim who they are. But what they are doing is giving it up. They give up their names. How are you going to find a Chinese guy named Bill? He voluntarily gave it. But most of them hold strongly to their heritage. Think about it. I mean, I just left somebody. They said, this guy's going to tell me his name is Billy Lee. Your name ain't Billy Lee when you left. So, come on. So what happens is that if you look up in Webster's dictionary, if you look up black, it ain't going to say it's a nationality. If you look up the definition of African American, you ain't going to see nationality. And then if you look up colored, it ain't going to say a nationality on land. But if you look up Dutchman, it's going to say from Dutch or Sweden or one of them. Then if you look up Irish, they're going to say from Ireland. You look up all these other names, it's going to tell you exactly where they're from. But if you look up black, it's going to say an adjective. If you look up the term Moor, it's going to say a noun. This is what they're going to say. And then it's going to say black or Moor. It might find that too, which meaning that they put the black before the Moor, which the adjective was black, but it was given the noun the Moor. So they already know. Even if we want to say we're Cherokees or Blackfoot, that's even a misnomer with a lot of that because we wasn't calling ourselves that, but that's another term that we use because I'm a Cherokee Moor. We have subtitles inside the nation. So anybody of whose complexion was classified as a Moor, no matter where you were at. That's why they throw out the movies Black Knight with Martin Lawrence. They called him a Moor through the whole movie. I showed the little clip of the movie in the classroom. The students like, I thought it was a stupid movie. I said, no, it's a message and everything. Wild Wild West with Will Smith, they called him a blackamoor inside the movie. Robin Hood. Morgan Freeman was named Azim. He said, what kind of name is Azim? The guy said to him, he said, it's Moorish. His name alone, Morgan, is a free man. Morgan Freeman. Mount Rushmore. You have to get you got to look at what is going on. They have, like I said, if I can convince you that you didn't do anything. I have Europeans say, well, we went to Africa to get slaves. You know you go to Africa to get slaves. We went to Africa to get Africans. Not slaves, because we're not Slavs. Look up the word slave in the dictionary and follow it. It's going to say S-L-A-V, Slav. Then follow the word Slav. And then it's going to tell you who the real slaves are. It ain't us.
Right, right.
So this is how you take off.
The speaker has done his, you have definitely done your research. Let's go into the court system. You're familiar with what I'm talking about. The average individual, when they walk into the courtroom, never pays attention to the positioning of the flag or the alignment of the flag as they sit on the side of, like the judge, and they don't know basically the significance of what type of courtroom they're walking in. Based on the positioning of the flags within the courtroom, doesn't that designate whether we're dealing with admiral law or maritime law? And within these courtrooms in which we walk inside of, we're dealing with a different kind of law than we actually perceive we're being exposed to?
Exactly. Every courtroom that you go into, what it is a federal area. That's all it is. They're federal zones. Look up the Buck Act, B-L-U-C-K. The Buck Act, and I believe it's in Title 4 of the United States Code. The Buck Act will tell you when they created the fictional areas. What they're doing is putting you on notice. They're statutory courts. They're not constitutional courts at all. If you have a law dictionary, look up statutory courts and constitutional courts. They're two total different courts. Those courts that we're going into, this is why you have to get what I call, which they are, they're military advisors. All attorneys are military advisors. You ever heard the word JAG?
Right.
You heard JAG, right? They used to have a TV show out like that.
Yeah.
Remember that movie? Okay, Jag. Now there was a movie also with Ashley Judd and Morgan Freeman. I think it was Morgan Freeman. He was some type of attorney that was washed up, and her husband got locked up, and they said, well, you're under two different jurisdictions. This is military. Morgan Freeman was not. See what I'm saying? Part of that. So what happens, all courts we are in today are military tribunals. All attorneys are military advisors. That's all they are. And they're putting you on notice when you walk in there that you're under Admiralty Maritime Law, which is dealing with contract law. This is why you cannot go in a courtroom by yourself in that type of venue. In a real court of law, you can go in a courtroom and present yourself and not represent yourself. Present yourself. Because they're two total different terms. Two totally different terms. What happens, you're coming in as articles of property. This is what is happening. Remember what I just told you about who blacks were? They were property.
Right.
So how can property speak for themselves? They cannot. Property can't speak, so they have to have a representative. That's why it's mandatory you have to look up the definition of an attorney. And you can research this if it's on the computer, I'm not sure. Corpus Juris Secundum 7. And Corpus Juris Secundum 7 is the body of law. This is the top. This is the top of everything. Before everything comes down, it has to start at the top. There's levels that it trickles down to. Corpus Juris Secundum will tell you that the attorney is an officer of the court. That's his first priority. He's an officer of the court. So now, you can't speak for yourself because you're property. Property cannot speak. Watch Amistad. Remember the argument that was taking place in Amistad. They were property. They was doing what? They were claiming. Who's claiming what? Remember I told you about the land, the abandonment land law? Who's claiming what? So they just claiming things.
And the attorney is actually under sacred oath, basically, which ties that attorney into the system that most individuals basically wouldn't be familiar with. That the attorney is underneath an oath to basically represent things from a civil perspective, dealing with property, and property basically being made reference to as the person, right? So when you're a citizen equals a person. A person basically is not looked at within the Constitution as being an individual or people who basically have rights given to them like God-given rights. It's ownership already. Someone owns you.
It's totally different. What happens, you have to look up the King's Bench. In Philly, we have a couple, it's called the King's Bench. I walked past Drexel University and I saw this sign. I was like, it had the King's Court. I said, oh my God, the King's Court, the King's Bench. So what happens, the king has to have an advisor that's there. And everybody else was there. Remember, I just told you about the subjects. When you have a law dictionary, you have to look up the subjects. So subjects are under someone. It didn't say we the people. The corporations or the government is supposed to be subjects, not the people. You have to study the law to find out what's going on.
What's coming to my heart right now is that, a lot of times we forget that America is really a colony of Britain. So we're still British law. We're still living under that. Exactly.
But that's why they call it British North America. It's called British North America. Or the District of Columbia, which is the District of Columbia, British Columbia.
Yes.
It's all the same. So you are subjects of Britain to this day. But since we don't know who we are and we think that we went to school to get a PhD or an MBA or a CBA and all these other things, a piece of paper, which a diploma only means paper, that's it. It's nothing. It don't mean anything. Just say that you're very well trained. We trained you. That's it. I have people come to me and say, well, brother, I have 5 degrees. Well, you better look up the definition of degree then. Because from my studying, I only went to the 12th grade. Degree means to take away from, like dehydrate.
Okay.
Prefix, suffix, right? So don't brag about your degrees to me, because what are you creating? Are you working for someone, or are you creating a job?
Yes.
Which one? Can you survive if you put them down? So there's a lot of things you got to look,
Conscious and Sabir, both of you are very knowledgeable on these topics. So since this is Solutions Radio, how do we turn this around? What must we do?
Well, like I just said, people need to read, start asking questions, have classes set up. I travel a lot. I do lectures in different places. I wouldn't even mind to come out that way, which eventually I will be somewhere near there, coming up real soon. But that's why it's important. I'm so focused on doing the TV show right now to counter everything that they're putting on there. You know, to counter. But I know that I ain't even gonna put the energy out there. James ain't gonna tell me don't put the energy out. I ain't even gonna do it. I'm not even gonna put it in the. You
know what though, fam? To be honest with you,
you know what I mean?
Hey, you have a responsibility too. But if you was to put it out there, it probably would shock some individuals. Cynthia Solutions. I had started years ago, removing myself away from systems, disengaging myself from these contracts that dealt with credit cards, disengaging myself with certain aspects of the society that dealt with where I had to go to the state and get their permission through my signature into a contract with them. I noticed something in my studies that with most corporations are spelled in capital letters. Look at all the identification within your purse, at your first name, your last name. Look on all the bills that come, and tell me if you run into anything where your name is spelt with a capital letter at the beginning, in small case letters. You'll find out that your name is being logged into these databases as corporations. They're looked to as a property, Inc. American
I'm looking at it right now. It's all capital letters.
That's the only, this is the only way that they can deal with the individual. See, when people are speaking, they are not talking about you per se. See what I'm saying? It is a term in law called impropria persona, and it says, pleas to the jurisdiction of the court must be pleaded impropria persona because pleaded by an attorney, the attorney admits jurisdiction after receiving leave. It didn't say represent. It said impropria persona, which meaning that you have to be in your proper person. And what happens, all the caps, this is the only way they can sue you is because they have to make you a fiction. This is why I say read the Buck Act. When you read the Buck Act, you will have a overstanding on really what is going on. But so-called blacks don't even pay attention, or Caucasians either, some of them, but they do have somebody speaking for them. And that's why the 9 times out of 10 they can get out of most of the stuff that they did. So it's not necessarily of trying to get so much out of it, because our ancestors are the first ones who started dealing with commerce. When we started trading and dealing in gold with Manson Moose and all this other stuff, they took it from us. So commerce is nothing new to us. That's what we were doing with our ancestors over there and our ancestors over here. We always dealt with commerce. But again, like anything else, they take it and they twist it around and they manipulate it and say, look, now we're going to do this. Let's do this. That's why I was talking to you earlier about the marriage piece. And before I forget, the definition of attorney is a Latin term which means to turn over. That's what it means, to transfer over. A turn. That's all it means. To transfer you over. But
because you're a minor and you need somebody to manage things for you.
But see, it's really not their fault neither. It's not the attorney's fault neither. It's that what's being taught to them. See what I'm saying? They don't know neither. But a lot of them poke their chests out and think they know something more than, somebody else, because they was trained, again, because you don't train human beings. You train animals. Anybody who studies psychology, I think I brought this up to you before. You study psychology, you don't train living beings. You train animals because they don't have a soul. So
exactly.
You teach people. So you're being trained, not taught. Difference. Total difference.
If you just joined us, we are having a very, very important discussion here with our guest, Sabir Bey. And I know you have questions out there. I see. Thank you so much for joining us here. Lots of callers. Call in right now at 347-843-4485 and join in the conversation. Yes, but that is just it's just incredible. So vibrations. What you stated is so key, is to step out of it and just choose not to participate in it.
Right. When you make an appearance in a courtroom for a potential violation that's dealing with any type of violation of a criminal act or a civil act, even like minor driving violations, what they do is they expose you to enter into other contracts. How many cases have you heard someone enter the courtroom for a license violation, they suspend it, then when you go back, their thing is to get you to enter back into the contract.
Yep.
Not to get out of it.
24 hours. 24 hours. They keep. It's in. See, one thing I've learned from a former judge. He's like 90-something years old. He said they have no limit on their budget to confuse people. This is what he said to me. No limit. They do this while you. This is why I tell people, when you sleep, I work. When you eat, I work. When you have sex, I work. Because that's what they do. And they have somebody around the clock doing this, taking breaks. Okay, now your turn. Now you come in. Okay, what we going to do today? And they'll sit there and strategize and say, wait a minute. Okay, we're going to try. We're going to do another spin off one word. Okay, if they don't come to court, now what? Most people, if you read your rule books, they don't hide anything. It's just that you're not reading it. Y'all have books, I believe, where whatever state you're in right now, called the Rules of Civil Procedure. Read your books, see how certain documents are supposed to be sent to you. They cannot send it to you through the mail. That will be mail fraud. Look up mail fraud on a computer. Any kind of document they're sending to you is mail fraud. So if they send you something through the mail, it's fraud. Just Google mail fraud, and it'll tell you fictitious names. We just talked about the names in all caps. That's not me, is it? But if you acknowledging it that it's you, right? If you acknowledging that's you, what happens? You just went into it. Yeah. Exactly. And this is what they got. It got Marcus Garvey on mail fraud.
And with every name, pardon me, God. I just was going to say, even like when you think about it, what is the significance of a child having a Social Security number when the child isn't able to work? Now look at the Social Security number. Now
you want me to read something to you?
Routing numbers. And it should be $1 million. It should be $1 million worth of wealth already attached to that number that's expected to basically be gotten from that child actually who has the number by pulling that money up out of their economic wealth as they go from adolescence to maturity, to an adult.
I'm going to try to connect something. For some people, that may be like some people, that may be over some people's heads, but let me try to explain what is going on, what is happening. When a person get locked up, do you know why Mumia is still on death row? You know how much he's worth? What happens, the debt has to, think about the debt, and I brought this up to Pam Africa, the debt has to wear off at a certain point, so then they can kill him. That's why people sit on death row probably for 10, 20, 30, depends on how old you are. You may be on death row for a while. They're collecting off your debt, like the brother just said. So now they have to hold you in jail for a certain amount of time. So when you reach a certain point, they can say, now we can destroy it because we got everything that we need.
So back up. How are they collecting off of your debt? You're sitting on death row.
Everybody is collateral. They're collecting money. Everybody is collateral. That's why it's collateral damage. Everybody's collateral. Everybody. Like you just said. Everybody's birth certificate is in the Department of Commerce in Washington, D.C. I was there. That's where the birth certificates are filed at. Washington, D.C. Filed. What is D.C.? It's a district. That is the headquarters of the corporation. The presidents are the CEOs of the corporation. That's all it is. That's his job. That's it. Now, I'm going to read something to you that a book I bought from the University of Penn bookstore, the college, the University of Penn. This is called The Credit and Collection Law, 2nd edition. Now listen to what it just said at the back of this book. It's over 1,000 pages, though. It says, the Social Security by state. The location where the debtor obtains a Social Security number, usually before the first job, is indicated in the most instances by the first 3 numbers. Now, you're in California. Where you at? Is it California?
I'm in Seattle. Where are you, Conscious?
I'm in Cleveland, Ohio.
Okay, you in Seattle. Now I'm going to show you. Hold up. I got Washington on it. Hold on, I'm trying to find Seattle. You say you in Washington. You say Washington. It's in Washington. It's in Washington, right? Seattle, Washington.
State, yes.
Okay, Washington. This might be the statement right here, though. It says your numbers start at 531 to 539. That will be the first 3 numbers of the Social Security number. Anywhere. Where are you at? And where you say you at, brother?
I'm in Cleveland, Ohio.
You in Cleveland. Now I'm going to go to Cleveland. Now I'm going to show you what they're doing. Each state will tell you exactly where the person is from. Hold on. I've got to find out. All right. 268 to 302. Your first 3 numbers, it'll tell you what state you're in. The other 2 alternate numbers will tell you what year, if you was born in 56, 66, or the 70s. 27, it'll tell you exactly where you at. The last 4 numbers is alternate numbers. This is the game that's playing. So really, it's all debt. It's all debtors. This is what they're doing 24/7, and they don't know how to manipulate the master. And we think we smart. I'm smart because I graduated from Harvard or Howard. Are you really? Some people may be listening and saying it doesn't matter to me. I'm living. But when the pressure comes, then you start wanting to hang yourself. A brother 54 just hung himself because the pressure came on him about not having money because of what state of the environment that we're in right now. Just hung himself. 54 years old, hung himself. There's going to be a whole lot more of that going on because we're giving up everything and thinking that the system is here to protect you instead of trying to make us be entrepreneurs or create something or trying to produce something, because they shut down these markets and these stores. How will you survive? And the pressure is happening right now. We got wrong information out. We got the wrong food that's out. Eating wrong. Everything. Nothing's nutritional. Nothing.
Yeah, you can easily control people who are sick.
Most
definitely.
Yeah. You can do that. I used to hustle. You can make a person do anything they want if they hide. Clean my car for $2, in and out. This is why even in China they killed all the people that was high off of opium because they were like that. Same thing is going to happen here, but it's a different high that we're on. We're not even eating right. We're not even thinking right.
Right.
So until we clean that up, it's going to continue.
This is incredible. Well, time has run out already. We have a plan. We're definitely going to have you back on for class number 2. This is just class number 1. We just scratched the surface. But we have 4 minutes left, and so we're going to wind down. And at the tail end of that, please, Sabir, share how people can get your DVDs, listen to your radio show, find out about your TV show, and you have videos on YouTube, too.
Yeah, YouTube, you just go to punch my name in, Sabir Bey. That's Sabir, Sabir Bey, on YouTube. I believe you're trying to get some more stuff up there. Also, by the same name, the website is www.sabirbey.com. Again, that's www.sabirbey.com. And also, the MySpace is myspace.com / Civil Alert Radio. That's CIVILALERT. World Radio. Civil Alert World Radio. And I have a Facebook. I don't even go on there though. For real, just Sabir Bey. I don't even go on there. But yeah.
Cindy Solutions.
Well, wonderful. Yes, Conscious.
I think you have 3 minutes left. Can I ask him a quick question, please? That
Certainly.
You can expound
go
on?
ahead.
In reference to our brothers basically being incarcerated, can you speak just briefly, we have 3 minutes left, on what them being incarcerated signifies as far as them being a slave?
Good question.
Wow, man. I mean, it would probably take longer, but what do you for me for us to explain yourself again, like, you say being incarcerated, like what?
Them being incarcerated in these institutions basically strips away all of their rights where they actually become slaves other than property.
Well, they never had rights. Period. See what I'm saying?
Rights
we keep saying, yeah, see, they never had rights. So when you hear them say paying debt to society, what do they mean by paying debt? What kind of debt? They tell you that. But they never had rights anyway. So rights cannot be taken away at the whim. It can't be taken.
Right.
Nobody can take your rights from you. But if you give up something, exactly, if you don't know what your rights are, see what I'm saying? It's like working. If you don't know what your purpose in life is, somebody gonna put you to work because they know what their purpose in life is. Since you don't know what your purpose in life is, so now since you don't know, I'm gonna make sure I put you to work because I know what my purpose is. So now I'm gonna have you working for me. You don't even realize it. You won't come to human resources and fill out an application, and we're gonna use your human resources to work for me.
Wow.
These words,
well,
a lot of these words are meanings in it.
Perfect way to round it up there. I mean, that's a cliffhanger. So everybody who's listening, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Sabir. You're going to be back. Thank you, Conscious. But the thing is that make Solutions Radio a favorite so you can be informed as to what's happening, so that you can see what's when Sabir will be on again, so you can watch the local listings in your area. He'll be on soon in a few weeks. And we thank you so much for joining us this evening on Solutions Radio. And we bid you a good evening.
We need more of these radio shows. Thank you. Thank you, brother.
Definitely.
Hotep.
Peace. Hotep.